Hello and welcome everyone to Stepping into Sovereignty, Activating the Fierce Love of the Sacred Feminine, where wisdom keepers from all over the globe are summoning up the courage to take decisive and loving action to create the future we desire. I'm your host, Kathy Forrest, founder of Celestial Forest Institute, and we're here today. This is such a treat with Anaiya Sophia. Welcome, sweetheart.
Oh, thank you, Kathy.
Anaiya is a mystic, a storyteller, and author of revelatory wisdom. She teaches workshops throughout the world and is best known for the creation of Sacred Body Awakening. She's known for showing up as a trailblazing resource of unapologetic truth and transparent courage. Her heart is both fierce and tender. She carries an oral message that stirs the remembrance of a continuous lineage with the feminine principle that throughout the centuries has preserved its spiritual dignity without the need for permission or recognition from any other source. Her books include Open Your Heart with Kundalini Yoga, Mini Size Me, Pilgrimage of Love, Womb Wisdom, Sacred Sexual Union, and many others. Anaiya currently lives in the Cathar region of southern France with her beloved husband, Pete Wilson, and they are running a B&B. And she, at this time, can also conduct baptism, marriage, and divorce ceremonies because there's a chapel on the site. However, she's going to talk to us today. She's got some very exciting things coming up. And we're just going to let her tell you about that. She has two topics. Her first one was acceptance is not acceptable, and I think we will revisit some of that. And her most recent topic is Lady Muck, Goddess Gardener. So there's all kinds of things we want to ask and we want to know. But first of all, tell us about your new place. What's happening?
Well, as you introduced the title for the summit, I was feeling, wow, everything we've just done as a family is exactly that. We've made decisive actions. We're following the path of love. And how this has happened for us is that Mum and Dad came over about a month ago for a little holiday. I was pushing them to come sooner rather than later because I had a feeling that travel would become restricted once again. And so they jumped on a plane, which in itself was absolutely scary. They wore the masks and, all of that. And they got here and we went through that 2-week period. And thank God, nothing showed itself because my dad has virtually no immune system. So if anything should come his way, he's curtains. So I then showed them a property that I had up my sleeve that I wanted to buy. And I said, Mum, Dad, I really just don't want you to go back to England. Is there any possibility you would stay maybe 6 months, maybe just see this year out and return next year? And they said, well, we'll do better than that. We'll just stay. We'll just stay forever.
I love it.
We'll just stay forever. We love the new property. We'll sell our bungalow in England, move in with you. You have the money because I'm the only one. And they were like, we want to see you enjoy your inheritance. We don't want you to have this money when, we've made our transition.
Sure.
We want to be part of it.
Wow.
And I'm like,
that's so beautiful.
No way.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like it's not really a convent. It was a Catholic-run children's holiday home for poor children who didn't have much love, much joy, I suppose. But for the last 20 years, it has been a retreat venue. So this is what we're stepping into.
So it's kind of like a bigger version of what you've already got?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
And what this one has is land.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I said Lady Muck. Because in British language, we have this saying, Lord and Lady Muck.
Uh-huh.
And that's like people who have stepped into wealth, and it's
Uh-huh.
not through their blood, they've
Right.
got lucky. And
Uh-huh.
so they're parading around Lord and Lady Muck.
Uh-huh.
But what we mean is Lord and Lady Muck, as in covered in mud,
Right.
because we're doing permaculture.
Right. Are you working on the new property now?
No, we're just at the planning stage.
Gotcha.
But that is going to be a massive part of it. It's going to be Le Jardin Extraordinaire, the
Right.
extraordinary garden.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's going to show people that you can just turn to permaculture in
Mm-hmm.
this complete and utter way.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw yourself in at the deep end.
That's
Surrender
exactly.
your job if you need to, and
I'm
just
just
start
snickering.
growing.
I'm just snickering to myself because in our last interview, you had just started this gardening thing, and it was just a little tiny baby
That's
thing. And
right.
in just 3 short months, you've gone from the little baby garden to this
Yeah.
huge, huge, extravagant. Man, all you got to do is ask. Mom delivers.
She certainly does.
Oh, you want a big garden? Go.
Yeah. And
Wow.
every single night we're watching these little videos. And what I'm understanding, and this is a
Mhm.
good one, sustainability is not enough. The word on the street, or rather the land, is regeneration.
Yes.
What a
Wow.
great permaculturist said, sustainability. What are we sustaining?
Right. Just
We got to
us.
go to the next step. Give
Right.
back, give back, give back. Make it
Yes.
abundant. Make it
Yes.
flourish.
Wow.
And I was
And
like,
that's what you're
wow.
going to teach. Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
That's just
yeah.
awesome. 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 So, everyone, and I find similar stories happening. There are a lot, myself included, people that are getting back to that nucleus family or going back to where their parents are doing those things. It almost just feels like that's an inner impulse. But that being said, there's massive change happening on the planet right now. If you had messages for the broader community, what would you tell them? What can we be doing right now to step in to that next step?
Well, I just share with you, there's two things strongly in my field at the moment. Number one is absolutely shutting down, but not from suppression, but by sovereign choice. No more news updates.
Yes.
I've got the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
Close that down. Social media is just a feeding frenzy at the moment. The
Yes.
slang and the cursing that's going on between people, shut that down.
Mm-hmm.
Just stick with your emails. So that's one aspect, just enough of that
Mm-hmm.
toxicity. And the other part is just to literally look at what piece of land you've got and to start growing.
Right.
Because the carbon, I'm really at baby steps. So if I'm getting it all muddled, please forgive me. What I'm understanding now is that the carbon that we've been getting rid of is in the flipping atmosphere, it's in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And something needs to be done about that.
Right.
And
Right.
the plants, the shrubs, the bushes, and the trees draw it down into the soil. So there's that regenerative step again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can't just leave it.
Right.
we got to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so planting, growing is one of the answers.
Good. Good. So planting and growing and letting go of the media. I've had that same thought in my mind for, it's like, what if you didn't know all that stuff and you could just be with the giant 100-year-old tree in your backyard?
Absolutely.
It would and if enough people do that, it shifts the vibration of the planet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
My mum and dad came from England where they had the TV on constantly. So they were getting all the updates. We don't have telly. So
mm-hmm,
they've come into this world. There's no telly.
mm-hmm, right,
um, there's so many, it's just such a remote area that you
mm-hmm,
don't hardly get to see anyone.
right,
And so, of course, we're walking around the house and garden with no masks because it's
mm-hmm,
only us four.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
Mum just keeps saying over and over again, it's as if the nightmare has gone.
right. And that is the truth.
She
That
is
is
here. Yeah.
right. And, we can all create those little pockets for
Yeah.
ourselves if we do that.
Yes.
So, what will you be doing as 2020 ends?
I'm going to be listening
Mm,
at the deepest possible level that
mhm,
I can. I'm going to
mhm,
be slowing right down
mhm, mhm,
and just, yeah, listening to the elementals,
mhm.
listening to the earth.
You feel like, it feels like there's a rumbling in you. What is important, like when you go into your heart right now,
Mm.
what is important for for you, number one, and then what does that want to speak to the outer world?
Well, when you say it like that, I just immediately connect with this Cathar prophecy.
Mhm,
So the Cathars are a group of people that lived particularly here, southwest France,
mhm,
700-800 years ago.
mhm,
You could say the spiritual descendants of Mary Magdalene.
mhm,
And they have a prophecy that expires next year. And the
mhm,
prophecy simply is, we shall return again.
mhm,
When the
mhm,
laurel turns green, that's one of our native trees.
mhm,
And that is why I will be listening very, very carefully at the end of 2020.
mhm,
I do not feel it is wishful thinking or extreme optimism.
mhm,
I have no doubt there is going to be a lifting and a lightening in
mhm,
2020, in spring. I've got to think about May, May
mhm,
2021.
mhm.
That's what's in my heart. That's what all of this is
Mhm,
leading towards.
mhm,
All of my choices
mhm.
are in alignment with that.
Wow. And I can see, I pay attention to your offerings and listen anytime I can hear you on um, YouTube or Facebook, and you've been telling those stories. And it's almost as if you're waking them back up because those stories aren't being told out loud you have to know where to look.
Yes. Yes.
So, is there anything else? Because I don't know that folks probably understand the significance of what that means. They may not even know what Cathar means. Can you explain a little bit how potent, I know, but can you explain a little bit how potent and powerful that is and what that could really mean for humanity?
Well, the Cathars, for one, never called themselves that.
Right.
They gave themselves a name. It would be early Christians,
Mm-hmm.
or back in the Occitan days, it would have been bonhomme, bonne
Mm-hmm.
femme, the good men and women.
Mm-hmm.
They were the closest you could possibly get to Jesus and the disciples.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bunch of people, a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of people truly taking the essence of what Mary Magdalene and Yeshua were revealing
Mm-hmm.
and living that very blessed life.
Mm-hmm.
Not because they're special or esoteric or being initiated. It's none of that. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually the simpler the better.
Mm-hmm.
They caught it. They
Mm-hmm.
caught the essence
Mm-hmm.
and it rested in their heart. And they had 2 crusades
Mm-hmm.
sent their way,
Right?
by the Pope
Mm-hmm.
to absolutely exterminate their message. and to exterminate their blood families and to simply put an end to everything that they stood for. They were healers. It is truly said that this corner of France was like a Lemuria. It was a very blessed, very gracious, beautiful architecture, beautiful way of life. Song and dance was very important. It was like a utopia. And of course, the people were very, very attracted. And they came from Italy, they came from Portugal, they came from England and Scotland. Everyone wanted to smell this fragrance. And so after a while, 2 crusades came their way, and they did a good job, but they didn't do a thorough job because it wasn't extinguished.
Right.
It just simply went underground and has been very, very, very quiet for many, many centuries. And as the last Cathar parfait, which is like priests, as the last one burnt at the stake, with a huge and gracious smile upon his face, he uttered the words in Occitan, "In 700 years we shall return again when the laurel is green." And that's next year. And what that means, I don't know. Does it mean a bunch of people are gonna like roll into Occitania? A bunch that we've never really seen before? No, I don't think so. Is it gonna emerge in the ones who already live here? Partially. Is there gonna be a pilgrimage of many people coming to the region that year? Not any particular time, but just that year. That's what I suspect. And because so many are gathering, it's going to be a little domino effect. And it's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And just...
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That just sounds delightful. So when I hear you speak, I don't hear a message of, oh my goodness, we're in for another round, or oh my goodness, take cover. I hear hope.
Oh, yeah. I might even go a bit stronger and say faith. Yeah. Because faith to me is a little bit more than hope. Hope is like, I am small and I'm hoping. Faith is like arms wide, chin lifted. I am faithful.
Yes, indeed, my friend, you are. So for you then, 2021 looks bright.
It does. It does. And I just want to say to everyone listening, I cry, I sob, I get depressed and despairing with everything we're going through. But I do know, even in those moments, I've got this other part, which, carries the faith. So it's not as if I'm walking around with a smile on my face every day.
Right.
Well, I have been recently since Mum and Dad have been here. But, usually I'm up and down like everyone else on the roller coaster. So, yeah, just want to put that piece in. Yeah, 2021 for me carries light. It's the turning of the page. It's the, putting a crease down the spine of the book. It's a new era.
Yeah, it is. It's like 2020 clears the slate so that we can step in to the new. That's beautiful. So is there any parting thoughts, anything that you want folks to know?
I think I might go back to that earlier statement. Acceptance is unacceptable. And I want to send a big dollop of love and a huge embrace to everybody's soul, because, I'm doing a bit of scrolling and I'm seeing, the alarm, the alert, the mandatory vaccination is rolling out. And of course, some of us, not all of us, will be like, oh, no, because I don't want that. And of course, others will be like, great, I've been waiting a long time. But for the ones who say, oh, I don't want that, I want to say, don't worry, you won't get that if that's your choice. Every flipping card in the deck is going to get played by the time 2020 comes to an end. See it for what it is. It's a flipping game on the world stage. But when I say game, I don't mean, oh, it's just a game, no one gets harmed. Oh, no way. People get harmed. People get tragically harmed. But try to maintain that faith, peace as well. That would be my, Don't roll over. Don't roll over and say, oh, everyone's going to go for the vaccination. I'll go for it too. I've even heard that sentence in my own head. Stay sovereign. What is your choice?
Yeah. So sovereign is the ability to just choose in every situation. You left me with the question earlier. You said, for me, the question is no longer, when will this change? But how far am I willing to go to meet the changes and bring them about in myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you speak into that?
Yeah, well, that just goes in with that acceptance is unacceptable. It's so easy for human nature to accept things that are less than a full body yes. We kind of got this thing about us.
Right.
So if there's a little promise of safety, a little promise of comfort, we will roll over and ask you to tickle our tummy. But that is what we have been. I believe what's on offer now is this stepping into sovereignty and this willingness to explore and then express what is true for you. Yeah. And, how far will we go until we actually access that? And many, maybe, will never do so in this lifetime.
Yeah, that is true. But I feel like what you've brought us today is the idea that anyone can.
Yes.
Anyone can just, and, we always hear it said, and I myself have had this experience, and I know you have too. If you are just decisive, if you just make the choice decisively, everything in the universe rises up to meet you and they just lay it in your lap. And I've seen that for so many women, yourself, myself, those choices where we go, could I?
Yeah.
And then it just seems like right now the time is really ripe for that. So I look forward to hearing, do you have any idea what your free gift is going to be at this point? And if not, that's okay. We will look forward to it.
Yes, all I can say at this point, it's going to be a transmission. It's going to be what sounds like a story, but it is in actual fact more than a story. It'll take you to a piece of yourself that might just need a little jiggle, a little activation, a little awakening. It's going to be in alignment with our conversation. Perhaps it will be, what we've been speaking about. I feel, because I'm scanning at the moment, I can't think of one in particular. Maybe what I do is I make a unique one just for this conversation.
Sounds delightful.
But it will be in honor of finding that sovereignty, of being willing to not know, to recognize gently that, acceptance is unacceptable, and to open to that part of us that just makes that decisive action step. Yeah. So technically it has no title at the moment, but it will do in a couple of hours.
It It will. It will. Oh, Anaiya, it's always such a joy and a privilege to be in your presence. I have my own theory on that returning, and I think it's already happening.
Could you
I
say
think,
something about that?
well,
I'd love
I
to
mean,
hear. See?
well, honey, it's like you're living right there. You're telling the stories. You're doing the things. It's already alive and awake in
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? And
yeah,
in not just you, in all of your community. And as I say this, the chills are just like rippling through my body.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like now, it's like this is when the big awakening begins.
yeah.
And so keep telling the stories and
Alrighty.
putting them out there. Um, if the only reason you get on Facebook is to do that, do that.
Yeah,
Folks need to hear them.
yeah.
And what's embedded in them is what we all need right now, the biggest amount of love that the planet has ever seen or ever will see. It's just the remembering of that. So thank you for bringing that through.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
All right, love, we will talk to you again soon.
Yes, yes, yes. Love to all.